Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and the Matthew Mercer effect if you are a game master. And how, if you are a modern dungeon master, you need to realize that the Matthew Mercer effect is fully in effect. There's been debate about this on the internet, and I just want to make it absolutely clear that the Matthew Mercer effect is very real and far more powerful than you actually realize. Let's talk about it. All right. So, the Matthew Mercer effect is, Matthew Mercer is a professional voice actor. He is a micro celebrity in the real world, and he is a macro celebrity within Dungeons & Dragons. And I'm fairly certain he's made a few $1 million just off of Dungeons & Dragons. He's one of those few people who have made millions of dollars. Not like, 10 or 20 or 30 or something, but surely 1 or 2 million off of Dungeons & Dragons, right? He's a Dungeons & Dragons millionaire. And a lot of people have said, hey, there's a really big, important thing that's happening with Matthew Mercer right now, where essentially he is a voice actor who dungeon masters. He does all these crazy voices. And then in addition to that, he fills his table with also voice actor celebrities, right? And then new people come into Dungeons & Dragons having watched Critical Role, and they are saying, okay, my dungeon master needs to be like Matthew Mercer. And there's a ton of commentators out right now, Dungeons & Dragons commentators. WebDM, OGGM, XP plus 3. There's just so many. Jord Fan. There's just tons of them, right? There's Talking 20. There's just tons of these commentators out there, and they're all talking about the Matthew Mercer effect. They have to, because it's very real. But a lot of them have been spouting this nonsense that the Matthew Mercer effect isn't real. Your players aren't going to expect you to be like Matthew Mercer. I'm telling you right now, that is pure and utter crap, right? And I'll tell you why. It's just a life lesson I learned this week, right? So, I am a huge fan of The Walking Dead. I've watched every single episode of The Walking Dead, and I've watched about 1 or 2 seasons of Fear the Walking Dead. 1.5 seasons of Fear the Walking Dead. Well, they just came out with a new series for Walking Dead, and it's called AMC, no spoilers here for this, but it's called AMC World Beyond, right? And really what it is it's Walking Dead YA, Walking Dead Young Adult, right? You could call it Walking Dead Gen Z, right? It's a bunch of young kids and their encounters in the Walking Dead world, right? So I was able to watch a free episode of this on Amazon. Right, so I watched it through my Amazon Prime, and I'm like, oh, I'd really like to see the rest of this, right? So I'm like, where can I watch this? So it was available on the AMC streaming site. So you go right to AMC.com, and they have all, and it did require a login with my Comcast account. So I logged in with my Comcast account, and I'm like, great, full episodes, everything's up, I can watch it, let's go, right? So what I found was I could watch it, but with ads. I'm like, oh, no problem. I can watch with ads, right? Now, my kids, Gen Z and millennials, absolutely will not watch a show with ads. They just won't, right? They're like, I don't need to. We got Netflix, we got Amazon Prime, we got HBO Max. That's 3 services, no ads. Why would I ever watch anything with ads, right? But I'm still old school. I'm like, I'll watch this with ads, right? So I go on there, and what I found is, like, Netflix is the gold standard, right? You hit the Netflix button, and it just runs, right? It just works, okay? There's no buffering. It just works. It just streams, goes from episode to episode. It never forgets where you are, blah, blah, blah. It works perfect, right? Well, I go on this AMC site, and first of all, they're paying they're running ads, and the ads are coming every 15 minutes, right? And I'm like, okay. And it's not just one ad. It's 5 ads in a row, right? And I'm like, oh, boy. But I'm like, I'll suffer through it, right? But the problem was, I don't really watch shows, from start to finish. I'll just have it on my, on my phone or on my whatever, on my laptop or whatever. And then when I get to the point where I want to start watching again, I click play, and I rely on that service to remember where I am, right? Well, the AMC site, because it's not Netflix, because it's not Amazon Prime, because it's not HBO Max, and because they haven't spent $250 million to make sure that their infrastructure is sound, it keeps forgetting where I am, right? So it forgets where I am, plays ads at the beginning when I hit play, then it doesn't know where I am, so I have to find where I am in the episode, and then as soon as I go to the place where I am, it pre-rolls more ads, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it, I give up, right? So the site was functional. Every single episode is there. I can watch the show if I want, but because it doesn't match the gold standard of Netflix, I consider it trash, right? And I just like, I'm done. I'm not even going to watch this, right? And I went over to watch content that I wanted to watch a lot less than AMC's Beyond, World Beyond, right? Because it didn't have what I was used to. And I'm telling you, this is exactly what's going to happen with Matthew Mercer. And it's happening right now, right? If you're a dungeon master and you are ignorant of what Matthew Mercer is doing in his games, your players are going to find somebody who is not ignorant of what he's doing to redefine how Dungeons & Dragons is played. They're going to expect voices. They're going to expect dramatic presentation. They're going to expect dynamic players around the table, right? And if you don't have it, they'll go find a DM that does, right? So if you are playing Dungeons & Dragons now and you're a dungeon master, you best realize the Matthew Mercer effect is fully in effect. Don't let any commentator tell you it's not, right? And the reality is, I really feel that Matthew Mercer really has redefined how dungeon master, the bar of expectation for dungeon mastering for the next decade at least, right? And the bar's only going to go up from where he's at, right? And I also think that's one of the reasons why you have, if anybody has a great table, they're streaming it and they have incredibly successful games, right? But the reality is most DMs are struggling to meet that Matthew Mercer effect. And the reality is the best advice that I can give you is go watch some of the critical roles, see what he is doing, and do the best you can to deliver it. And even if you are failing to deliver what Matthew Mercer is doing, I think generally your players are going to have comfort in you even attempting to give them the experience that they've seen before or that they will see soon, right? There's no question 5th edition, Matthew Mercer has been a bigger impact on 5th edition than the top 10 designers combined, right? His role on Dungeons & Dragons for 5th edition cannot be understated. There's something happening with Matthew Mercer and the confluence of Matthew Mercer, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, micro-celebrity, macro-celebrity, and streaming that is unprecedented in any edition of the game. That's my opinion. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.